All right, guys, it's me, Edwin, back again with AP Computer Science. It's going to get real exciting today. We're going to be working with arrays. Yes, arrays. No, you're not going to get a raise at work. You're not going to get a raise, and it's not array like, like a laser ray from a science fiction film. No, it's arrays. It's spelled Arrays. And really, all arrays are is a fancy computer term for a list. And computers use lists all the time. Before we learned about variables, right? So we have all these things that are variables that get stored as memory in a computer. But sometimes you need multiple variables or multiple things in one area that all have to relate to each other. And we use lists all the time, like your contact list is in your phone or your playlist also in your phone. Calendar, those days that you have on your calendar, those are part of a list and list of lists, right? So you have 30 days in 1 month, sometimes 28, sometimes 31. That's a list of days. And then you have a list of months: April, May, June, July, all the major months. All of these are lists, and they have to be part of each other, like, for example, your playlist is just a list of songs that you put together and you gave a name, like my favorite playlist from 1983. So, all of these lists need to be stored somewhere, and that's what we're going to be working on today. How we store information as a list, call information, use information, put information in that list, take stuff out of that information list, and we're just going to be doing so much list and array work, it's going to be bonkers. So here we are at the bjc.edc.org page that you guys have been using for your curriculum. Unit 2, Lab 2, making list. And we're going to build out this list project. As you can see here in this number 1 in this green box, you see click here and you'll get a starter project. So we'll open that up. And you'll have the starter project here as well. Just be sure to save it into your, save it as your own. So save as, you can put your name on it. And when you open up, you have actually the shopping list already set up, but I'm going to teach you guys how to do that. So as you can see the shopping list is actually a variable here, right? But it's not just a regular variable, it's a variable that's actually a list, or also known as an array. And we want to set this up so that we can have an add item, right? We could clear the list or we can delete the item. So I'm going to just unclick this just so that we can do this together, and we're going to create a new variable. So you go ahead and make a variable, and we're going to do it for all sprites. And I'm going to call this shopping list array. Okay, great. So now we have that variable, and it looks like this. It looks more like that points counter that we were doing before. I'm also going to click on the stage so that we know we're going to add our scripts to this stage. So the first thing we have to do is we have to turn this variable into not just a regular variable, but a variable that is an array or a list. So we're going to set this shopping list array, and we're going to say that it is an array or a list. Right here is just a number. So to do that, we have to go put in this array block. So to do that, we got to put in, I got to look for this list here, list right here. So this list block is actually the array block. Right here is an empty cell, which is the first thing in that list. You can add more, right? But for our case, we're actually going to we're going to get rid of all of them. And we're just going to stick it right here. So what this is saying, is that we are setting the shopping list array to a list. We're defining it as a list. A list with nothing in it. When we click on it,
It's when it turns into this kind of block here, right? So there's nothing in this list, right? We could add something to the list if we wanted to, right? We could add item 1 manually, like right there. And if we click on it, it should show up, right? Item 1. If I click on the left arrow again, it'll delete it, right? If I click on it, it'll delete it. And as you can see, you know, let's do item 1 again. It'll say the length of the list. The length of the list is now 1, right? That means it has 1 item. So let's erase it again because that's what we really want. We want this to have nothing there. So I'm going to switch over to another program right now just to show you a little bit of what this would look like in actual code. You know, here you're working with Snap. It's all these little blocks that you bring into place. But in the test, it's going to be a little bit, you might see some of the stuff written in a code language, and you should know what that looks like. So the first thing I need to do is define the variable, and I'll do that by writing var. That's in JavaScript, that's how you do define a or create a variable, right? And I'm going to call this shopping list array, right? And I'm going to say it's equal to, and now this is the important part to remember when you're working with arrays or lists, is that they usually have these kind of brackets, right? These kind of brackets right here, or sometimes you'll see it as a square, right? And the information's on the inside. And if we're adding stuff to the array, right? Right now we could add numbers like 1, 2, 3, right? Or actually start with 0, 1, 2, 3. And the reason I start with 0 is because in most programming languages, you actually start with the number 0. So this array, the first thing in this array is actually like the item in the 0 position of this array is actually 0. So just to show you what I'm talking about, we're going to export or log it so that it shows up in the console, right? And you do that by doing log, right? And then if whatever you want to display in the log, right, you write after the log in these parentheses. So if I was going to write 1 and I do log 1, it's going to show 1 down here. Or if I do, you know, I could write something. And when you write something, you always need quotation marks. This is the log export, right? This is the log export. So that's how you're able to produce stuff to come out in this console. What I want to do is I want to log the shopping list array. List array, right? So here it's going to show me all the items in the array because that's what it is. Shopping list equals this. I'm logging it. It's going to show me that. It's going to show me all the items. Now, if I just wanted to show the second item or the first item, let's say item 0, I would do this. I would put 0 here, and now it's only going to show me 1 0, right? 1 0 down here because that's the 0 item in the array. If I want to see the second thing in the array or the thing in the position 1, I would write 1, and it's going to show me 1. Now, these things don't have to be numbers. They can actually be items, like something on a shopping list. But like I said before, you need to have them inside these quotation marks. So maybe we'll have an apple, right? And then a banana. That's too many, right? And then orange. And we'll just stick with those three items in this array. So this is item 0, this is item 1, and this is item 2. So here we're saying log shopping list array item 1, which is banana, and so it shows banana. If I do 0, it's going to show me apple. If I do 2, it's going to show me orange. If I do 3, it's going to show me nothing because there's nothing there. There's no item there's no item 3 specifically, right? So this syntax is what you have to learn, right? This syntax of putting stuff in an array with these brackets and then getting the brackets back, right? Like how do you get that information back? In this case, you're using log. So now let's flip back to Snap to finish this. So that's what it's very important to understand, right? How these lists work. You put items into the list. You're going to want to pull items out of the list. You're going to want to clear the list or delete items. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So now that we've created this list, we've done great. Now we want to go to add item. So we're going to go to the add item sprite, and we're going to actually script the add item sprite. So these are essentially buttons. So what we're going to do is when I am clicked, so when the add item button is clicked, we're going to do a sensing block. And we're going to do an ask and wait. So basically it's going to ask, and we're going to ask it, type the item to add to the list, right? So now type the item to add to the list, and then you're going to type something here and enter it. Now remember, this block, this ask and wait block, has a corresponding answer. So you type it and then it gets an answer, and we're going to use that answer to insert into the list. So now we go back to the variables, and now we're going to use something called an insert, right? So we're going to look for the insert block here. So we're going to insert the answer at position 1, which is the first position. Remember, in Snap, they start with 1. In JavaScript, they start with 0. But in Snap, they start with 1 of this array. This little ladder means array. You can actually put something in there, though. So we're going to put shopping list array, right? So that's the array. So what we're saying is that whatever we input as the answer is going to be inserted at position 1 of the shopping list array. So let's go ahead and put Apple, right? And I'm going to click on here. Oh, it didn't work this time. It'll work because it had previous stuff in the memory, but it worked this time. So it added Apple, right? Now, this is going to put another thing in position 1. So if I do banana, right, and press enter, it adds it into position 1, moving Apple down to position 2. And if we do orange, it's going to do it again. Orange. It's going to add it to position 1. Okay, you have other options here too. You could also add it to the last position, right? You could say insert answer in the last position. So instead of putting it at the top, it's going to put it at the bottom. Maybe I'll put kiwi. And now it adds it at the bottom, right? And you have options. You could also do it randomly, right? You could do it random and it'll just put it somewhere in the array. But let's keep it at 1, right? So this is how we get stuff to add to this shopping list array. Now, let's do delete item. So we're going to go to the delete sprite, right? We're going to do a similar thing, control. When I am clicked, we're going to do the same question thing, question and answer, right? Right. But here we're going to say, basically, we have to define the number that we're going to erase, because that's going to be the easiest way to deal with this. So if it says, I would ask something like, type the number of the item you want to delete, right? And then we're going to have the answer. So, and after that, we go to variables, and then we're going to delete, right? Delete the answer of the shopping list array, right? So if we click on it, type the number of the item you want to delete. Say I want to delete banana. I put number 2, because 2 is going to delete item 2 of the shopping list array. So we click on that and it deletes item 2, right? If I do it again, delete item, maybe I want to delete item 1, right? Now it deletes oranges. And now if I do delete item like 5, nothing happens because there is no item 5, right? But you could delete away. We could do delete item 2, right? Okay, now we can add item. We can add it back, right? So we add kiwi, and we add the item back, and now it's in item 1 because the way we have it set up for the add item is that it adds to the number 1 spot. All right, so we've got that taken care of. Now we just need to clear the list. So clear everything, right? So to clear the list, it's actually pretty simple. It's very similar, when I am clicked. So when the clear list button is clicked, we go to variables, and then we're just gonna go look for the delete, here it is, right? Delete all items from the array, but we need to name the array shopping list array. So now if I do delete clear list, it clears all of them. So now we could add an item, apple. We can add a second item, orange. We can delete an item based on the number. So delete number 2, or we can also clear the list, which you just saw. So there you go. That's how you script this in Snap. And this is how you work with lists and arrays. All right, so I'm going to show you a little bit of how we can add items to the arrays using JavaScript. So there's a couple ways, like if we wanted to add an item to this shopping list array, right? We could do shopping list array, right? And then we say where we want to add it, right? So use the brackets again. And we can say, this is apple is 0, bananas 1, orange is 2, and we want to add something to the third position or the third index. And so maybe we're going to add pears, right? So we do pear, right? So you can see how in the console, because now we tell the computer, hey, log the shopping list array. You'll see here in the console, we have apple, banana, orange, and pear. So it added that item into that third area. We can go ahead and add something into the fourth area, into the fourth index, right? So maybe we'll do 4, and we'll say equals kiwi. And now we've added something in the fourth index. We can also do it a different way, right? In programming, there's always a couple ways to do stuff. Oh, and I forgot these as well. We can do shopping list array dot push, and that's going to push something to the end of that particular array. In this case, we use parentheses because this is actually a function, right? We're saying we want to push the item within the parentheses into the end of the array, the shopping list array. So what are we going to push? I guess pineapple, right? We could push pineapple. See, and it went to the end of the list. Yep. So this push is always going to push something to the end of the list. If we want to, delete something, or we can delete something from the end of the list, we do a pop. So instead of push, we're going to pop it. So here, pop, right? Shopping list pop, open parentheses, close parentheses. That means it's a function. and it's going to pop the last thing, right? So it popped the pineapple because that was the last thing. Let's see if this actually works, and we can try to do another pop. And if we do 2 pops, it's popping the last, and so forth. So we'd probably have to do a couple of them to delete all the items, as you can see. That deleted all the items, and it just erases the last thing on that list. So there you go. That's how it would be done in a coding syntax. You know, you create the variable, the array, define the array with these brackets. You could put the items in the array within these brackets. You can add items to the array based on the index number. This is the index number. You know the index is, the first item in this case is 0. So apple is index 0, banana is index 1, orange is index 2. And then we could say we want to add stuff to index 3, which is pear, index 4, which is kiwi. We can push stuff into the array, which just means we push it to the end of the array. And we could pop it, means we delete it from the array, or delete the last item of the array. So there you go. That's arrays for today. Bye.